Hi guys, my name's Bex, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm bringing you the mid-year catch-up collab volume 3. It is time again for the mid-year catch-up collab, and I'm so excited to be bringing to you a wonderful group of booktubers sharing to you their favourite book of 2019. Their least favourite book of 2019, and their most highly anticipated for the rest of 2019 so far, and I am so ready. First and foremost, I would like to thank everyone for participating. These are some of my favourite people, so I could not wait to get their videos and share with you guys their favourites as well. I'm leaving links down below to everyone in this video, so definitely go check out their channels. They are some of my favourites, and maybe they'll become your favourite too, so definitely send them some love and subscribe down below. So without further ado, let's get started and introduce you to the booktubers that are joining me this year.
Hi, my name is Erina, and you can find me at Life of Erina on YouTube or Erina Reads on Instagram, and welcome back for the third collaboration thing for Beck's channel. I hope you enjoy.
Hey guys, it's Becca here from Becca and the Books, and today I am here to talk to you about my current best, worst and most anticipated of 2019. And I would obviously like to say a huge thank you to Beck for asking me once again to participate in her mid-year collaboration.
Hello beautiful people, my name is Rachel and I am from the channel Rachel Marie Book Junkie, which is soon actually to be rebranded as Rachel Marie is Royally Booked.
Hi guys, this is Jean from Happy Indulgence. A big thank you to Bex for inviting me to your channel and talking about my favourite books. Basically, you can find me on my own channel at Happy Indulgence Books. I'm also on Instagram. I have my own blog and a Twitter account.
Hello, my name is Sarah and I'm from Commas and Ampersands.
Hey guys, so my name is Abby and I'm at the channel Abby Lacey the Book Lover, and this will be the third year I've joined in on Bex's mid-year book collab, and I'm so excited to be a part of it again for another year.
I am very excited for this bunch to be joining me. I am really excited to hear what their favourites and their least favourites are. But let's get into it, starting with my favourite book of the first half of 2019. And for my favourite book of 2019, I'm throwing it back to a book that came out over 10 years ago, and that is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. I finally dived into this huge book this year, and I was not disappointed. This book follows a guy named Kavoth, who is telling his story to a chronicler. And Kavoth has lived a very interesting life. He has gone to the university at a younger age than most get in, and he is trying to study magic. And it is fantastic. It is an amazing book, and I was really excited to dive into it. This is such a slow burn story. The story really progresses beautifully, and it's really detailed and in depth, and there was nothing that I didn't like about this book. I loved the characters. I thought they were really complex and they were really well developed. There is a unique magic system. What this story I think didn't miss out on is the development throughout. It was not a fast-paced fantasy like I am used to. It was very slow. It was very intentional. It was beautifully done, and I felt like it was one I could really lose myself in, and I absolutely adored it. Now let's dive into everyone else's favourite book so far in 2019.
My favourite book of 2019 so far is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. This is a beast of a book. It is very hyped. It is a high fantasy that is set in a queendom. There are dragons, there's some LGBTQ+ representation, there's mythology that's drawn from different cultures and put into this one magical world. And I think it has everything that I've really wanted in a high fantasy, but that I haven't been able to find in other books so far. So I wasn't expecting to like this at all. I didn't really enjoy The Brain Season by Samantha Shannon, but I gave this one a go because I was reading it for book club, and the reading experience itself was 5 stars. The book was maybe 4 stars, but I created my own playlist. I was deep in the headspace for this. I only wanted to read this book. I was only thinking about this book, and I haven't felt that way about a book in a very long time. So that was an amazing reading experience, and it's been my favourite one so far of this year.
My best book of 2019 so far is honestly quite shocking. I did not think that this book had the potential to be my best book of 2019, but I read it and there we go. I love it. I love it a whole lot. And that is Orange the Complete Collection Volume 1 by Ichigo Takano. Now the reason that I didn't think that this would have the potential to be my best book of 2019 is that it is a manga. No shade to manga, but I did not think that a manga would ever have the power to make me feel as many emotions as this did. Now I'm open to a whole new realm of emotional manga, and my soul is not ready but my body is. So Orange is a young adult contemporary manga with science fiction elements that follows a girl who receives a letter from herself 10 years in the future saying that if she does not change a few things over the coming year, a boy who is just about to transfer into her class is going to die. Now, as this boy does become friends with our main character and her friendship group, that premise is obviously very emotional because you see them become friends and you see this new boy who is not necessarily shy. He's a cool guy, but he is quite reserved and doesn't force his way into situations or push into situations, and you see him building relationships and coming into himself, being more comfortable, confiding in his friends and all of this, which is all just really heartwarming. There is also romance blooming in here. There is a love triangle, which is the best love triangle that I have ever encountered in a book. It just makes my heart soar, honestly. But all of this beautiful, heartwarming, emotional content is overshadowed by the fact that this boy is going to die. So it's a roller coaster of emotions all across the board, and every time the main character does something, you're kind of worried about how this will affect the future and what's going on. The interesting thing about this as well is that you do have two timelines. The majority of this book does take place in the timeline where all of the characters are teenagers, but you do have an occasional look into the future in 10 years and what each of the characters are doing now as they are coming together to celebrate a particular event.
Okay, so my favourite book I've read so far this year has been Four Dead Queens by Astrid Schulte. I really did enjoy this book, and this was one that I was highly anticipating, and I'm just so glad that it was such a good book. So this book is about Carolee, and she is a very skilled thief, but she steals something she's not meant to, and she gets caught up in this conspiracy that leads to all four queens of Katera being killed, and she has to team up with this messenger named Varen, and they've basically got to try and figure out what happens to the queens and try and save them. I just really enjoyed the characters in this book, and I got so invested in the story that I had to keep reading to know what was going to happen, and I did read this book very quickly, and I was very glad that I did, and I highly recommend it.
So, my favourite read of 2019 is definitely Jade City by Fonda Lee. Oh my gosh, guys, this is a really unique urban fantasy read that I absolutely love. It's got everything from like a really deep world filled with clan wars, and you've got like a clan family that has really complex characters, and you just can't help but love them even though they're flawed. There's like a complex family saga that fight over Jade as well, and Jade can actually give you the ability of super strength, super speed and perception. And basically in Jade City, it's basically a turf war between two clans in a modern day Asian city similar to Hong Kong or Singapore, and it just features a really wonderful diverse cast of characters. You've got like really brilliant fight scenes because the author Fonda Lee is a martial artist herself, and the concept of Jade is just integrated into the city of Kowloon, and you just want to know everything about it, and it will really suck you in, especially if you love urban fantasy books. And yeah, if you want to check out a diverse urban fantasy, definitely pick up Jade City.
My fave book of 2019 so far would have to be The Wicker King by Holly Black. This is book 2 in the Folk of the Air series. So book 1 is The Cruel Prince. I've heard a lot of people like that one better, but I am all for The Wicker King. I think it's a great sequel, and we get to delve more into the politics, into other characters, which I think was my favourite part. And Jude and Carden, just their relationship really gets really sticky, and it gets far more interesting than from the first one. And yeah, I'm loving it. Another book that I had to mention was Imprison the Sky by A.C. Gorgon. This is the second book in the Elemente series. So the first one is Reign the Earth, which I adore, and this one just as good, if not better, and highly recommend reading it. It's elemental magic, and it delves into, you know, some serious topics, and it's quite diverse, so definitely pick it up if you haven't. I also quickly want to mention that I love A Curse So Dark and Lonely, is that what it's called, by Bridget Camera. So good.
A big thank you to Bex for having me along with this, and I'm going to be sharing with you my favourite book so far of 2019. And of course, if you follow me on Twitter, it has to be Middle Game by Shauna Maguire. This is a kind of sci-fi fantasy with a very logic, science-based fantasy system about two twins that were created by an alchemist to be two parts of this doctrine that when combined is basically in charge of the universe. And this alchemist has split them apart to live in different parts of America because otherwise if they converge too early in their existence, then basically all hell will break loose or the doctrine will get lost. This book also deals with multiple timelines and quantum entanglements, time loops, time warps, and it's just really, really epic. I love this. I love the twins. They're my favorite characters. Definitely of 2019, if not ever. Roger and Dodger are so important to me. One of them is really good at language, the other one is really good at math, and they basically just complete each other. When they're 7 years old, they realize they share a connection because they can telepathically communicate with each other across states. So that makes it quite difficult trying to keep them apart. And when did I forget to mention that the alchemist doesn't want them to run the universe. He has created them so that he can use their power to run the universe. Epic book, so whimsical but in a scientific way. It's fantastic, I love it, and I hope that you do too.
So many amazing books have been mentioned so far, but now let's take a step back and let's talk about the books that didn't hit the mark that we were expecting this year with our worst books of 2019. I've had a few books that I've DNF'd, but I'm going to talk to you today about one that I actually finished and didn't enjoy, which is one that also came out ages ago, and that was Coraline by Neil Gaiman. And Coraline is a bored young girl who thinks there's something quite strange about the new house that they now live in. Now, what's strange about this house? It isn't the cat that always seems to be watching, it's not Miss Spinks or Miss Forcible that live next door, but it is the house at the back of their house that seems to have another set of parents in it. And they are a little bit terrifying. And they want Coraline to come live with them permanently. And this story goes from there, and it was honestly the weirdest book I have ever read. I was really underwhelmed and really disappointed by Coraline. Everyone hypes up Neil Gaiman as this incredible writer, and the fact is maybe I'm too old to read this book, but I could not relate to anything going on. I couldn't relate to Coraline as a character. I think the premise was really unique, but I felt like it just didn't hit the mark. The plot didn't shock me, it doesn't excite me, it just really felt bland. And when you go into this one, you're promised eerie and creepy vibes, and I got nothing from it. I was easily bored, and obviously I'm not the target market for this novel, but I just kept looking at it and going, why is this such a strange book? I don't think I'd like children to read this. Like, it's such a weird reading experience, especially a Neil Gaiman book. It's built up and it just fell really freaking hard for me. So unfortunately, Coraline is my least favorite book of 2019. And let's stop listening to me drag on now and go into everyone else's worst book of 2019.
And my least favourite book of 2019 so far. I've had some doozies this year. I have just finished Stardust by Neil Gaiman for the Book Junkie Trials, and I gave it 2 stars. And I think that I am finally realising that Neil Gaiman is not my author, despite loving his mind and loving his concepts. So Stardust actually is a movie that many of us love, but of course it started off as a children's book. It actually started off as an illustrated children's book, and then was turned into a novel, and then was turned into a dramatisation, and then finally, eventually it was turned into a movie, but it started off as a children's illustrated book. We follow a boy called Tristan. Yes, it's different than the movie name. The movie name is Tristan. In the book, it's Tristram. And he goes on an adventure to find a fallen star to give to the love of his life, who definitely is not in love with him. Turns out that fallen star actually isn't just a star though, and he's not the only person who's looking for it. And also discovers a few quite incredible secrets of his own. Not the book for me, probably my least favourite of the year, especially because I had so much anticipation for it, and especially because there was a lot riding on it. It was the group book for the Book Junkie Trials, and yeah, I kind of feel bad about that.
My least favourite read of 2019 so far is Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan, and I bet you that Bex is going to have a big laugh at this because we actually buddy read this together. So I do have a review for this one up on my channel, which you can find at Happy Indulgence Books, but basically I was so disappointed with this book because it promised like a really badass main character, it promised blood and gore, it promised a gothic romance, but what I basically discovered was that it's like a Grisha fan fiction pretty much. Pretty much just features like a really complex world, but yeah, it's just crap. Like, it just really didn't pan out at all. It was all over the place. So it was full of conveniences. It's mainly about the characters itself as well, who do fall in love, and then all of a sudden the secondary character just pops up, and it was just a really unsatisfying ending and resolution. And by the end of it, I was just so bitter about this book. I just did not think it was executed well at all. The concept was good, but so far it was disappointing.
One of the books that I don't think is too hot that I've read this year is Contagion by Terry Terry. This didn't come out this year. It has been a couple of years, but I read it finally. It's been sitting on my shelf. Luckily I didn't pay for this. I did win it in a competition because I did not like it. For the most part, it was quite interesting. Contagion, as you can tell, is something about, you know, diseases, like crazy contagious, and yeah, it's interesting in the way it's told. I thought that was really original, and so many parts that just, you know, kind of have you on the edge of your seat. Really want to read it, but then I don't know, there was a bit of insta-love that was yuck. And the end was so disappointing, and there's no way I'm going to continue. Sorry.
My least favourite book of 2019 is probably one of the books that I DNF'd over the past few months, but I can't really talk about them because I DNF'd them. So I'm going to instead talk about a book that I did finish, and which was probably my most disappointing read, and that was Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I am still disappointed in this, because not for a single second did I think that this was going to be anything other than a 5-star read. Everyone said it was amazing. I thought it was going to be amazing. The first half of it was amazing, and then the romance started and it just wasn't hooking me. Like, I didn't like the characters when they got together. Liked them separately, didn't like them when they got together. And romance became such a heavy part of it in the second half of the book that I almost DNF'd it. Like, I was this close to giving up, and then I was like, no, people say it gets better, and I was still bored, and I liked Muse of Nightmares even less. So I know that's not a popular opinion, and I've had a lot of people ask me what is wrong with me, but I can't change how I feel. No.
So my least favourite book of 2019 so far was Changeling by Philippa Gregory. I am not a huge fan of historical fiction, and Philippa Gregory is quite well known for writing historical fiction. However, Changeling is the first book in her only young adult series, and Philippa Gregory is a popular author. You know, I wanted to give her a little bit of a try, and as I'm not too comfortable with historical fiction, I thought reading her young adult book would be a better gateway into her work. So the premise of this book is that we have a girl who is the daughter of some sort of lord or somebody who holds quite a bit of land, and she is sent away to become the abbess at an abbey that is attached to her father's property. And we also follow a boy who is in a monastery. He's training to become a monk. Now, these two characters do meet in the course of the novel, and I'm assuming it becomes about both of those later on in the series. But the way that this book is advertised is that it is a historical paranormal book. The synopsis says things like these two people will encounter werewolves and dream dancers and possessed people, but none of that is true. There are no paranormal aspects in this book. It is old wives' tales and people assigning paranormal reasons onto mundane things. A great example of this would be the Salem witch trials, where none of the women, or assumedly none of the women, were actually witches, and all of the incidents in Changeling were not actually supernatural. They were people being accused of being supernatural creatures. Aside from that, I thought that the writing was really dry. It was pretty boring. It's a very short book. It's under 300 pages, and I dragged my feet reading this book. Safe to say, I unhauled it and the other book that I had in the series and anything else I had by Philippa Gregory, because with this one, I should have just gone with my gut and realised that I'm just not a huge fan of historical fiction.
Now, for least favourite book, I'm actually finding it a bit hard to answer this one because I haven't had too many books that I really disliked, and the only one that I can think of is When We Collided by Emery Lord, because I was just disappointed by it. This still got 3 stars from me, so like I've been having a pretty good reading year with 3, 4 or 5 star reads. Basically with this book, I just didn't like the main character Vivi because I just felt like she was very self-centered and didn't really care about anyone but herself, and the other main character Jonah, he's actually just recently lost his dad and he has to care for his family, and Vivi Vivi moves into town and she kind of changes the whole family's life. I still felt that because Jonah had to have such a big responsibility looking after his family, that a lot of the things that Vivi did just didn't make a lot of sense. And yes, she does have bipolar disorder in this book, and that is a big part of why she acts the way that she does. But I still just felt that I needed a bit more seriousness from this book. And a lot of the decisions that she made just made me cringe a little bit, because I just thought it was so horrible a lot what she did. So like, I did enjoy the big family group in this book, but just the two main characters dynamic, I just wasn't a fan.
And last but not least, the last thing we are talking about today is our most highly anticipated read for the second half of the year. And for me, that one is going to be Capturing the Devil by Kerri Maniscalco. Capturing the Devil is the fourth book in the Stalking Jack the Ripper series, and I fell in love with this story last year. The final epic conclusion comes out on the 10th of September, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. I cannot really tell you what this one's about, because being the fourth book in the series, but Stalking Jack the Ripper follows Audrey Rose, who lives in the 1880s, and she wants to be a forensic scientist. But unfortunately, in that day and age, women did not participate in such jobs like that, and she is kind of pushing the boundaries and wants to be more, but then she gets swept up in the Stalking Jack the Ripper case, and she's trying to stop this person from continually killing, but this case seems to come really close to her kind of secure little life. What I love about this series are the characters. It is absolutely phenomenal. I listened to this series on audiobook and I am in love with it via audiobook. The narrator is fantastic, but the story is just so entertaining, and I cannot wait to see where this one goes. There is a romance that if anything happens to it, I will riot. This is a series that I never thought I'd fall in love with, and I did. So I cannot wait to dive into Capturing the Devil and see where Audrey Rose ends up in the finale.
There are a couple of books this year I'm looking forward to, but the top one is definitely The Queen of Nothing by Holly Black. So the third and the final is, I think, in the Folk of the Air series. So I just spoke about The Wicked Prince, and no, The Wicked King. But oh my god, I am so ready for the third book, and I feel like I've been waiting as soon as I finished The Wicked King. So November, I think. Come at me, please. I'm also really looking forward to Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I don't know if that comes out this year or not. Maybe?
The book that I am looking forward to at the end of the year is definitely Dark Dawn by J. Kristoff, which is the third book in the Nevernight Chronicle. Oh my gosh, guys, I have been waiting for years for this book to find out what happens to our favorite characters, including Mia, Ashlyn, Trick, Mr. Kindly. Oh my gosh, I really need to know what happens, and I just can't wait for this. I just cannot wait to see what happens. And oh my gosh, if you guys haven't read Nevernight yet, I don't know what you are waiting for. Just get off BookTube and go and pick up Nevernight. It's like about a really brutal assassin called Mia, and she's out to get revenge, and it's basically her story trying to train up to be the most badass assassin of all time. It's brutal, it's glory, it's sexy, it's got really high stakes, really great action scenes. It does take a while to get into, but oh my gosh, you guys will love it.
And then for my most anticipated release for the rest of 2019, I'm not going to linger too much on this one, because I have a feeling that there will be more people than just me who are anticipating this one, but that would be Dark Dawn by J. Kristoff, which is the third book in the Nevernight series, which, as I'm sure you guys probably know, is a adult fantasy series about an assassin who is trying to avenge her parents. One of my favorite series ever. Nevernight was my favorite book of 2017. I've been waiting for Dark Dawn since I finished Godsgrave in December 2017. I have 2 copies pre-ordered. J. Kristoff is one of my favorite authors ever, and I know that this is going to be so good, but a little bit emotionally destroying as well, so I'm not ready. While Dark Dawn is my most anticipated release overall, I do want to give just a little bit of a special shout out to The Toll by Neil Shusterman. Scythe, which is the first book in this series, is one of my favourite books of 2019 so far. It is set in a dystopian world where you can't die unless a scythe gleans you, and this story follows 2 apprentice scythes. The Toll is the final book in this series. I completely blew through Scythe and Thunderhead. The ending of Thunderhead had me shook, so I'm definitely excited to see how Neil Shusterman is going to wrap up this series, especially as this is the only series by Neil Shusterman I have read, so I don't know how brutal he normally is wrapping up his series. Are we going to have a happy ending, a traumatic one? I don't know.
And finally, my most anticipated read of 2019 coming up is really tough because right now I'm reading Nevernight by J. Kristoff. So technically I could say that I'm really looking forward to Dark Dawn in September. However, I want to see where we go with God's Grave. So therefore, the book that I'm most looking forward to is The Toll by Neil Shusterman. This is the third in his Arc of Scythe series. It also comes out in September. Really looking forward to that. In this world, we have progressed to the point where we can cure people of almost any ailment, and we can rewind our body clocks, and we can easily revive people if they go splat, which people do a lot as like adrenaline junkies in this world. However, because nobody is dying, the Thunderhead, which is this basically autonomous iCloud that now runs our world, appoints people as scythes. It's created this scythedom of people who find and train young apprentices to become scythes, and their main role in this world is to cull people and glean people and just basically remove them from existence. It's their time to go. And this is to keep population down. It's definitely needed in order for humanity to continue to develop. But some scythes are actually enjoying it. They're enjoying killing people, and they're the new order of scythes, and they believe that you should be able to enjoy it. Mass massacre, terrorism, taking planes down. Why not? Just, it's all a ball of laughs. Let's have a great time while we're doing it. But then you've got the old order of the scythes, and they're like, this is wrong. You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't take enjoyment out of it. This is a sacred thing. And we follow two apprentices in the first one, in Scythe, and they actually end up in two kind of different areas. One of them is for the old ways, and one of them is in the new order. But where we take the story in Thunderhead, which I've just completed, is somewhere totally crazy and new, and it's wonderful, and it gets so much more detailed than just book one in Scythe. Book Scythe was great. Thunderhead is incredible, and I cannot wait for The Toll. It is my most anticipated book so far. I'm really looking forward to it, and I can't wait to get that on my shelf.
My most anticipated release for the remainder of 2019 is nothing. I have been so focused on finishing my physical TBR, so like all of the books that I own and haven't read, that I literally have no idea what is coming out. I am not up to date at all. I could not tell you a single book that is being released before the end of... No, that's a lie. I know that the final Nevernight book is coming out in like September-ish. Is it Dark Dawn? Is that what it's called? See how far behind I am? I'm embarrassed for myself that I'm this far behind, but it is going to be a joyous experience when I can finally read recently published books after I finish my TBR. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
And the last thing I get to tell you guys today is my most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and that has to go to The Starless Sea by Eric Morgenstern. I mean, how can you not be excited for the fact that the author of The Night Circus is writing another book? I'm so excited, and there isn't that many details about this book, but I do know that it's like this underground secret library, and there's a lot of treasures and like a lot of intrigue and stuff happening, and I definitely feel like I want to go into this book without knowing a lot of information, because that's kind of how I went into The Night Circus, and that became one of my all-time favorite books. So literally my favorite book, the author is writing another one, and I don't know how to cope. Well, anyway guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed our collab, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!
Thank you for inviting me. I had a great time participating, and yeah, thanks. Bye.
Again, thank you so much to Bex for having me along with this. Really excited to see the final product, and I hope that you get some fantastic recommendations from this video.
Thank you so much for watching, and Beck, I love you.
And that is it from us today, guys. Those are our favorite books of 2019, our least favorite book of 2019, and our highly anticipated read for the rest of 2019. And I'd first of all, before I sign off, would like to say thank you very much to everyone who participated in my mid-year catch-up collab this year. This is, again, one of my favorites. I love getting videos for other participating booktubers and being able to see what their favorite is, and just coming together in this one video and sharing with you guys what our reading has been like this year so far. But as always, that is it for me today, guys. If you did like this video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe if you'd like to see more and have not already, and chat to me down in the comments. I'm leaving all the links to all of the people who participated in this video down below so you can go check them out. They are some fantastic booktubers, and I highly recommend you go show them love and subscribe to their channels as well. But that is it for me today, guys. I make videos every Monday and Thursday, and I'll see you in a new one. Bye!